You're watching the Tesla Life, live with your host, Mark Coughlin. Hey Moon,
Hello,
Hotel likes your
everybody.
song.
Oh no, I've been muted.
You should be unmuted.
I am now unmuted. Oh,
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I
All
was
right.
telling Lee Moon that that Moto likes his song.
Okay.
He was dancing
Welcome
in the,
everyone to
in the
the
intro.
Tesla Life. Here we are, number 314 on the 5th of July, 2023, and just after the big holidays in the U.S. and Canada.
2/3 of the nation, 2/3 of the continent was having like independence celebrations.
That's right. That's right. Yesterday and on July 1st for Canada. So hope everyone is not under the weather from a fabulous Independence Day in Canada Day. Hope everyone's ears are all right from all the fireworks. And we welcome you to the show.
This was one of only two babies not afraid of the fireworks.
That's a good way to have it. That's for sure. Although Casey, I will say that they tend to change as they grow up. So you never know who's not scared now, might get scared later. But you never know. You never know. But welcome everyone to the show. Let's get going and see what we got for news stories today.
So I had a photo I was going to share.
Oh, okay. Bring it up.
Yeah. So Saturday, this was Saturday evening, but Saturday morning, we ended up at Buc-ee's. A friend of mine says their meat is too sweet, so I sent him this picture and said I was at Sweet Meat Disneyland, and I sent the photo so he would get the reference. And it took us 2.5 hours from the time we crossed their property line to the time we got back out, and it was only a 30-minute. Actually, the car wanted like 30 minutes. Supercharger was 35 minutes that we were plugged in because of the amount of time it took us to get from this parking spot into the very other corner of the building in the restrooms and back. And then it took us another 20 to 25 minutes to leave the Supercharger spots. There was no trailer at that time. It was just us in the Model X. And I'm trying to understand, aside from the massive amount of gas pumps and the Walmart size 7-Eleven, I don't understand. I know it was a holiday weekend, but like none of the other gas stations were just shoulder to shoulder full of people.
Well, isn't Buc-ee's a destination like for convenience stores? It's it's like a travel plaza that people flock to, apparently.
Last night I learned that they don't have windshield washer like squeegees or buckets or anything.
Even at the gas pumps? Wow.
We went through all of them, including the diesel ones, and then I'm like, well, at least the restroom was clean, because that's something in their lore that is actually true. Is the bathrooms are super clean, and I appreciated that.
That's a good thing to have for sure.
Yeah, because the car's like, go to Florence, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's go to Florence, and it meant the mall, and the mall closes at like, well, they probably weren't even open because it was 4th of July, but they closed at like 7 or 8, and so I was like, let's do Buc-ee's again.
So this Buc-ee's was in Florence, South Carolina area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently North Carolina is getting one of their own as well. And Sheetz in North Carolina and everywhere else was doing $17.76 a gallon for gasoline. And so their lines went out to the street. And so I ended up at one of the locations. I went in the exit, and people gave me just glaring looks, because if you don't know Teslas, mine looks like either the Police Explorer or somebody who spent too much money on Ford Explorer, and and then they see me pull over into the Supercharger, and then all their scowls melt away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because we posted on our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life. If you're unaware, there was a video of someone filmed a over a mile long Sheetz lineup for people to get gasoline at the cheap price.
Yeah, and people complain about Superchargers.
Exactly. So those people were sitting in line for many an hour waiting to get through that hour. I'm sorry, that mile long queue for vehicles. But I was thinking, man, if you're sitting in that line thinking that it takes too long to supercharge, you're in that line a lot longer than 20 minutes. So it is what you're willing to do, I guess. Hopefully
Same
they
for
use some of that
Costco,
time
Sam's Club, BJ's.
maybe to comprehend what EV would work for me and what's available in my area.
Right. And which ones have signed up for the NACS?
Exactly. Well, let's talk some Tesla news today. We've got our first story is about the Tesla app, which has been updated actually twice this week, and the app is just increasing. Man, it increases all the time with functionality or features. This feature that was just released had entailed the ability to start looking at multiple cameras at once. So you're able to view some of those exterior cameras. Instead of picking one, you can see multiples at the same time for the recording it's doing or for the live feed. So that is something new. And of course, you may not know this if you've got if you do have the app. There is the ability for both the Apple Store and the Android Store to just download an updated version. So sometimes you're unaware that your app hasn't updated. It's on its own. You can force it to update it by going to the stores and forcing an update at that time. If you
assuming that the server that your phone is on has the update already. Otherwise, you'll have to look at other methods to achieve that.
Right. But that is now available. So keep your eye on that. And I expect, again, the features and updates are just going to continue. We expect something new to appear with the navigation soon, I'm sure. So it just keeps rolling, which is fantastic to see. Next, Casey's got a story about Elon Musk talking about FSD graduating. What's this about?
Oh, yes. So Elon gave us one of his classic sound bites, and he says the next major release of FSD is not going to be titled FSD Beta. It's going to be FSD 12. And he still thinks it's going to happen this year, but I mean, he's thought that for the last 15 years. So
2 weeks. That's all.
We're at 11.4.3 right now, and the next update is going to be 11.420. That still leaves us over 600 possible combinations before they get crafty. So, I mean, we were on version 10 for over a year, right? So
yeah,
they can do this. But it's exciting that the next time they do something, it's going to be just out there. Another thing that's happened with FSD that Musk didn't say, but some of the folks that kind of get into things have found out is that aside from the factory builds, so if your car has like .400, .200, .600 in the number, then you're going to be kind of stuck on that for a little while because your car just came from the factory. However, if you're on any normal build that the car just downloads, like, hey, update available with the little clock or the yellow download, get near Wi-Fi, that's going to have FSD built into it, FSD Beta. So at that point, to actually utilize the functionality, you'll need to have a FSD subscription or FSD purchase. And then once the car is able to confirm with the mothership, boom, that's unlocked for you. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so that'll be a quicker solution in most cases.
Yes.
Makes it a little bit easier. But I'm curious with this dropping of the word beta when they get to 12. I'm wondering if there are going to be other things that are required to get it to 12 in the regulatory world. Is some state or some county going to have to approve
a driver's license?
Yeah, like is there something different that's going to have to happen there before it's all fine and dandy to say we're dropping the word beta from the title. But it's another thing is the regulatory group going to allow it?
Exactly. And then the other question with that is, are they going to pull a Honda and Mercedes where they assume liability in certain situations? But of course, Musk being Musk, they're not going to do it just under 30 miles an hour on a packed highway, as long as you're near the steering wheel and ready to take over, but not looking at the road. It'll probably be just straight up FSD.
Yeah.
Now, what are they also going to do to make sure that if you weren't paying attention, that you could get paying attention pretty quick? That's the next question.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of questions that this raises. Just dropping the name beta from the title doesn't really give us any answers as to how it's going to be implemented.
Yeah, if we can get what Green was calling Elon mode, where we don't have to touch the wheel, that would be cool. But again, it would have to be ready for that. And
it's going to have to be approved by somebody, not Tesla. It's going to have to be approved, right?
Right.
So
will that come out everywhere in North America? Because clearly, whatever we got overseas is basically employees, even if they're not actually employees.
Right.
And then only in North America do they have, well, actually just the U.S. and Canada, not even Mexico, do they have just this open free-for-all beta that we've become accustomed to.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of question marks with this. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens when it gets a little bit closer to that version 12. Will it, is some regulatory commission going to have to get involved in order to push this forward, or does it just have to happen in one county, one state? Does it have to happen in multiple? I don't know. So a lot of question marks. So
the other cool thing that's going to happen with that is that if you live in a jurisdiction, which is like nearly all of them, where if it's raining and your wipers are on, your headlights need to be on. And like every other Tesla owner, you've got your lights set to auto because you have to go into multiple clicks to turn them on and off. They've restored the functionality in an upcoming update where if the wipers go a certain number of times, the headlights turn on, just like we were used to when Mark and I bought our cars. They did this. And then some update last year or the year before, they just stopped.
Yeah.
Which was always fun because you got to manually do it. And apparently on some of the Model 3s, if you do it the wrong way, and you get out and walk away, the car will chime at you, hey, you left your lights on. Mine does that too. But they'll actually stay on these newer cars, the non-legacies. Whereas mine's like, he's gone. Screw him.
Sure enough. We're saving power. That's it. We don't care.
Exactly. And then one thing I'd like to see happen before version 12 is I'd like it to stop hover slamming my brakes. Like you see the red light, you see the line of stopped cars, you know what to do with it, but you wait till the last second to slam on the brakes. Come on now. And then maybe like before you make a maneuver, like not immediately before, but like with a reasonable human amount of time, you turn the signals on and then you make the maneuver. Instead of just jumping in the lane and signaling after the fact.
Yeah.
Those would be exit lanes. The other ones it does tend to signal, hey, I want to change lanes, but it's still a waste of the last minute on them too.
Okay, actually, if you could look up for Derek what version of the Tesla app it's at recently, that would be great. Derek, are you using? There, he's got his posted as to what his current one is.
It is app update 4.22.5. So you are almost there, sir.
Almost there.
For the Android folks, if you want to go to some of them repositories that are have the community trust, you can try that. But again, this is keys to my car. Just like I won't let my state taxes get into my car, I'm definitely not letting in some repository into my car either.
Yep.
iOS tends to get it first, but again, it's the same situation. Just whatever server your phone is attached to decides whether you actually download it or not.
Yeah. All right, on to our next story, and this is about a supercharger that is in California, in San Ardo, California, which is just basically off the 101. And what I chose this for was to show that this is one that's been built with a solar array, which is pretty rare.
Extremely rare.
We've got 8 chargers with 2 separate solar arrays, or might be 4, but they're modular. So they're developed modularly, so you can just add a few of them wherever you want. And the other unique feature about this is that the adjacent building is actually solar placed on its rooftop as well. So it's got this great sloping roof facing south, looks like, or approximately south. and they've used that extra slope to get some more chargers. Or, I'm sorry, photovoltaics in place.
Oh, cool. Looks a little bit like those little portable ones. Some of the self-contained ones.
Exactly.
From this distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is it's 3 separate units. You can see the 2 poles each holding them up. So that's 3 separate modular, and that's great if they can start making these things modular, just like they do some of the superchargers that are already mounted on pedestals. Then that's going to make the installations quicker and easier to wire up.
That's a question I get from a lot of new owners: is, hey, where's the cover?
Yeah. So it's just a little. And if you look at this at Google Maps, like this is just a
are those
little
destination superchargers? They look short.
No, they're actually they're covered in white.
Oh, they're covered. Okay, because they're not ready to open them up
This
yet.
was just before they opened, but they did open this past week.
Cool.
So
yeah, the cover's a pretty surefire way to determine whether or not they're going to let you use them or not.
Exactly. But it is up and running. You can check it on your Tesla screen, or of course on supercharge.info. You can see this update as well. So very good. So just say hello to Logan, Derek, and JT, who have joined us in the chat room. Hello, guys. How you doing? Next story. We've got the NACS update, which happens every second day, apparently. Casey, what do we got for updating?
So this week's Casey Talks About Plug segment is a little shorter than typical because we had like I said, 2/3 of North America was having holidays, and so you guys had Canada Day, and we had the 4th of July, and in that time we were able to get from our last talk. We had saw that Volvo had joined by themselves, and there was no message except for an official tweet from Tesla Charging. And of course, as we expected, because of the ownership and the sibling rivalry and all that, Polestar has joined as well. However, they did it better. They did a tweet on their own. They did a press release, and then of course Tesla Charging did the official tweet as well.
Right.
And then we had Electrify America and Electrify Canada. What? Is VW not going to be last? VW says they're considering it, but it's kind of once their network goes, they're going to have to support that. And then after that, we had the Charin group had about 50 companies that did not include Volkswagen, but did include Electrify America and did not include Tesla. They're all hashing out their what needs to be done to get NACS as a Charin standard. That's the CCS group, by the way. And then there's a small little plug out there called SAE J1772-2009. You might have seen it. Is it about to have a little piece of plastic that adapts into your glove box when you picked up your car? Well, SAE has decided they're going to just kind of wholesale copy the NACS into their standards book. And they specified that they wanted to work on the plug and charge, PKI security clearing. So it sounds like some of the situation we've been hearing at the other folks where they have plug and charge, but it's all implemented differently. It sounds like SAE wants to make sure that's a little more seamless than exists today with pure CCS. So that's exciting, as well as there will probably want to flesh out some more on the vehicle to X, so vehicle to grid, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to load, and vehicle to grid for those companies that have a robust enough battery. Because in the Tesla spec, it just says coming soon, which standards people hate. They don't like changes. And the other thing that might happen there is some of the folks were still complaining about high voltage charging, namely Hyundai and Lucid. Tesla specified in their design, here's how you do a 500 and 1000 volt inlet and connector. So I'm not sure what else these companies wanted other than to know when Tesla's going to put out the V4s or possibly upgrade the V3s to do 1000 volts so they can do the supercharger pledge, because if the system already does it. There's nothing more to add to it unless they want to, I don't know, maybe put 2 big round circles underneath the NACS.
Yeah,
that's a CCS joke.
Maybe they want it to. Maybe they want the certificate to happen before. Maybe that's something that they're.
And that was something we noticed, that once those 2 groups said they were going to put the NACS in their books, then all of a sudden the German companies got a little more loose lip. Mercedes like, we're going to talk about it. Volkswagen's like, we're in talks with it. But Volkswagen went a step further. They said we're in talks with it for the Volkswagen group of companies. So you got Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, the whole shebang. Well, at least the ones that they sell in North America, because that's all that matters for this.
Yeah. It's not going to affect Europe at all, for sure.
It should not.
Well, that's interesting, and I guess this week we'll probably see another 5 announcements, but we'll keep our eye on that. They pop up quite often the last 3 weeks in a row, but not a surprise.
We didn't cover it, with the first electric motorcycle that's using NACS announced as well.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot less space on the bike. I mean, you got something that's roughly human size, so it makes sense to save space.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that Aptera hasn't pushed out some videos of their own about the NACS charging. Like, even though that we knew that they were on board before anybody else.
They were on board before Tesla was on board.
Yeah, they were on board before Tesla was allowing them to be on board. But I'm surprised they haven't put out a couple of PR videos just to put out on the internet, because there's so many people that are waiting for this high efficiency car, or if you want to say that, motorcycle, because really it's a 3-wheel vehicle. So it's I think it's something they could have got some mileage out of if they started to advertise a little bit more. Put out a couple of videos. You've got a lot of hype on the car. A lot of people would be interested. They'd share the video, get your company known a little bit more. I think they kind of missed an opportunity.
But in history, is the first mover in the NACS.
Yeah,
even before Tesla.
We went to NACS before Tesla would even allow us. That's a great ad. Yeah. Next, let's move on to the Highland project and some speculation that's coming from China. There's a new CATL MP3 battery that has been in development that Tesla is going to be using, apparently, for the Model 3. It's not specifically connected to Highland, but of course, with the impending release of Highland, the thought is that it may be released with this type of battery. And this new battery, a little bit more energy dense, and speculation abound that the standard range Model 3 will get a couple extra batteries in it. You know that when the Model 3 was Model 3 standard range was released, it originally was released with about 55 kilowatts of battery. And then over the next 2 years, Tesla bumped that 55 up to about 60. And that's where it sits at presently. The thought is that with this new CATL battery, that they plan to push it up another 10% to 66 is where this is heading. And of course, depending on the chemistry that's in this new battery, they think it's just about as energy dense as the current one, but it's a cheaper battery to manufacture. And it's still ruggedized like the current one is, that can take 100% charge. So the thought with a larger battery pack is that they may get 9-10% extra range compared to what is out there currently. So that's something that is kind of interesting to see, that the standard range, which is no longer called the standard range, but
Model 3.
It'll be pushed into a larger range category, which is never a bad thing. I've never heard anyone say, I'm really upset that I have extra range in my car today. So it's, having a 66 kilowatt battery, certainly better than 60.
Yeah. One of the other cool things that was mentioned about Highland is that it might be the first implementation of steer-by-wire from Tesla.
That's true. Yeah.
In the front. Obviously, you got steer-by-wire in the rear of the Cybertruck.
But that can be something that people are not prepared for yet, because of course I believe the pedals are no longer drive-by-wire anymore either. They're controlled separately. There's no physical attachment from the lightning pedal to the engine. It's just wires.
Yeah, there hasn't been that way for a long time on most automobiles. The way that Tesla and a couple others do it is you've got anywhere from 3 to 4 sensors that have to agree a certain amount of ways before the car will move. And if they stop agreeing, the car will coast on down because you don't want a situation where the car is doing unintended acceleration. It's easier to have it not move when you want it to than move when you didn't want it to.
Exactly. So that is kind of interesting that this will be Tesla's first forte into drive-by-wire for steering. So and of course this is a savings for them in the manufacturing process and the materials process of putting these cars together. And of course, we've also heard that Highland, of course, is going to be produced on a separate line or a modified line. And they're also including some efficiencies in the building of the car as well as the parts. So
do you think that we're going to see just basically Megacast like we saw on the Model Y, or do you think we're going to see some of that pit stop situation they showed us at Investor Day?
I wonder if they'll try some of that to see how it's going to work for their next car, because with the Cybertruck being put together with castings as well, will they try some of those new pit stop type things on the Cybertruck line, or will it be on the Highland line, or will it be on both?
I think it'd be easiest to try on the Cybertruck because they are all the same color. you won't so they have blue doors run down on a white car or a red car.
Yeah, that would be pretty obvious by the end, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Did someone order a police car? Because this one's got black fenders. I hope they ordered a police car.
It seems the door merry-go-round is on a different step than the car line.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into some numbers. Of course, Q2 numbers came out recently, and Tesla had announced their sales numbers for the Q2 2023. And
new record.
And it was a new record for Q2. We've got over 466,000 delivered and nearly 480,000 produced in that quarter. They also announced when the earnings call would be, and I didn't write it down.
It's going to be Wednesday after the market close. The 19th?
The 19th. That's what I was looking for. So just basically 2 weeks from today. So we will, of course, cover the details that they produce in that. But again, the quarter was a little bit beyond what Wall Street had projected or thought would happen.
That way, because when Wall Street makes up a number and then Tesla doesn't hit it, even though they never said they were aiming at that number, it really puts a beating on our stocks.
And it seems to be if the Tesla manages expectations or maybe goes a little bit beyond, the stock gets hit anyways because it just seems to be no rhyme or reason. It seems that when they announce the numbers, it's typically a down day the next full market open day. So
yeah,
that is not a surprise since following Tesla. That just seems to be the norm. It doesn't seem to be anything surprising with that. But then, of course, through that next quarter, typically things brighten up and stock moves in an upward direction. So it's interesting to see that whenever results are released, it tends to drop a little bit. But that's neither here nor there. That's just the reality of what Wall Street thinks compared to what Tesla's producing. So, yeah, and Derek has a good point. He put on our Twitter feed a little car animation showing the wheels spinning as the car was charging. So you know that little app that shows the green wire going into the car as it's going? Well, Derek showed it on his Twitter feed that the wheels were actually turning as it was charging.
Did it have the lines on the highway as well, or just the wheels were turning?
Just the wheels were turning. There was no lines on the highway. But
Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, exactly. So either the car was up on blocks and the tires were just aimlessly spinning, or as I put it, maybe that car has a real long extension cord. That could be it too. So,
I just added up quarter one and quarter two production numbers, and we get 920,508 cars.
Okay, getting close to that 2 million mark, aren't we?
Left. Yeah, it'll be a million before the beginning of the next quarter.
Exactly. So that's
our numbers guys here,
and of course the Q1 and Q2 are the slower periods compared to 3 and 4, which tends to pick up volume universally through any year. So. And there's Patrick joining us. How are you today,
Hello, Patrick? I'm good. Sorry I'm late, but I have a very good excuse. We are getting our solar panels put back on today.
Yeah.
And
very good. Can't miss that.
Right. The techs are out there right now trying to get the inverter to work. For whatever reason, it says, I see the voltage. It's all here, but it just keeps going, waiting. And so they're on call with the support line, with the manufacturer support line, trying to figure out what's going on with this inverter.
Is this the regular one or the Tesla one?
This is the non-Tesla system. Yep. And I finally got the Tesla reinstall scheduled. That was a nightmare. Yes, it'll be in August though. So it's still I'm going to miss all of July. All the sun that rains down in July I will miss with my Tesla system.
Right. Yeah. This is what Patrick was trying to explain to them. Like, hey, you need 2 weeks. You just took them off. You know your schedule. Let's just get back on the schedule.
Exactly.
We can come on.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because the earliest that they said that it would be allowed that they could reinstall them would have been July 14th. I'm like, okay, well, let's schedule it now and make sure that's after July 14th.
Right. And that's what the other company did. That's why they're there today, right?
I think Patrick locked up a little bit. Oh,
turned off the router.
He's back now. He's back.
I was asking, that's what the other company did, right? They scheduled the install after they took them off, plus the waiting period?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
and that's why they are there and did it today, right? Yeah. So it's the difference between a little company and a big company. And
one that's good with paperwork and one that's not.
Exactly. Yeah. As great as Tesla is, they are a big company. They've got a lot of customers, and so everything has to go through a process to get done.
Yeah, paperwork's always been a struggle for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm not even actually going to be able to stay long because I've got to pop off and go see what they're doing and give them a check and do all this stuff. So
understood. But we're at your specialty. We're talking about the production numbers. I mentioned that we are at a total production for quarters 1 and 2 of 920,508 cars.
Yes. So not quite halfway to the 2 million mark that we're assuming or estimating that they're going to make for this year. Tesla guided for 1.8 million, so they're exactly on track to meet that goal, assuming no growth in Q3 and Q4. Which, why would you assume no growth when they have two factories?
You're a Tesla Q.
Yeah. Yes, linear thinker, flat line. So yeah, I'm highly confident they're going to be able to hit the 2 million. And it doesn't matter whether they do or don't. It's just a milestone. It's not like that's going to have, if they're short by a couple thousand, that oh my God, they missed. No, I think they're playing the game the right way now. They're setting Wall Street expectations to be at a target that they know they can make, given that there's always some interruption, force majeure, COVID, some supply chain issues, some problem. And so even going through those struggles, they are very likely to make what they're committing to. So if things go smooth, they get above that, great. That's the game we all play with, trying to guess how many cars they're going to make each year.
Yeah.
And we do it in January. These other analysts get to adjust their number every quarter and every month.
They're hacks, Patrick. They're all hacks.
Right. Yes.
We're the real guys. We know what's going on. Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, it's I definitely would say that quarter 3 and 4 are going to be boosted quarters based on 1 and 2 that we've already seen, and that's going to get us to 2 million, maybe a little bit more. So again, barring some crazy thing happens, but yeah, that's where we're heading. So that's fantastic. Good news. Next, going to jump into Giga Texas shutting down the Model Y line. Oh, trouble. No, it's not trouble. They're just updating the line. That's all they're doing, is they're putting some efficiencies in place. And as they're doing that, they're actually taking some of those employees on the Y line and they're pushing them over to the Cybertruck line, because they're starting to spool up things on the Cybertruck side of things. So they're doing some testing based on number of employees are going to be at each station. They're looking at how the line is going to speed along, where they're going to need more employees, where they're not, where they can make some changes. So this is all great news. And of course, Tesla, unlike some other manufacturers, they tend to update their systems, not just their cars, but their production system as time goes along. They're taking suggestions from people on the line when they figure out that, hey, we could speed things up if we were to do X, Y, and Z. And Tesla has many times modified their lines in order to incorporate some of these changes to get some of those efficiencies as the line moves. So it's not a surprise that a day here or a week there that they're actually making some of these changes to active lines.
And unlike another company that hasn't yet joined the NACS, that is also shutting down their lines for the annual upgrade cycle, they're not taking extra time just to leave them off because sales are slow. They're making things better.
Yeah.
Does that throw enough shade sprinkled in there?
Exactly.
Volkswagen is putting people on an extra week or two, depending on what part of the factory they're in, because they're not selling the IDs in the quantities they expected.
And again, that's Volkswagen is coming at it again with their first generation of vehicles. They've got some pain to live through, because they have to figure out how to build the cars completely different from what they've been doing before. They know how to build cars, they know how to have lines, but it's the specific architecture that has to be overcome, the specific nuances for an electric car over an ICE engine car that they're coming to grips with. And they're realizing that it doesn't matter what you throw at them, but there are going to be changes, and there are going to have to be some modifications based on the results you're seeing, whether that's car sales results, whether that's the speed of a build. All these things are incorporated into trying to make things better for them.
For fluidity.
Yep. So all that stuff is not a surprise. That and again, we look at the car market in the electric car arena. Tesla's still selling 60+% of all electrics in North America. So Volkswagen is just relegated to their percentage of the third that's left. They're not doing huge volumes. Nobody is, except for Tesla at this point. And as we saw from last week, that analyst has indicated that they don't see any change coming in the next few years, at least. That's just going to be the way it is.
Model Y setting records despite being introduced in blue in the shade.
Yeah, in the dark corner on stage. That was shocking. Elon was really playing down that intro, let me tell you. But
well, I mean, he had just got done the Cybertruck intro, right? So I mean, I can understand not wanting to do that again.
Yeah.
But he swung it too far.
Yeah.
Next, a little talk about Future Factory, which has not even had a shovel in the ground yet, and that, of course, is Giga Mexico. We reported on last week about Tesla trying to lure certain Chinese parts manufacturers to come set up shop in Mexico around the new Giga Factory. And this report has come from Chinese media as well, indicating that Tesla is telling its suppliers to be ready by Q1 of 2025 to start providing your contracted amount of parts for the new factory. So this, of course, we believe is going to be the new cheaper price, the new Model NACS that's coming. So, you know, if Tesla is actually getting their suppliers to set up shop to be prepared to deliver X amount of contracted parts on a certain day, that means that the Model NACS is pretty well mapped out, I would say. That if it knows what parts are going to be available for it, they definitely are locked. You know, it must be pencils down on the design, or most of the design, for this next coming more economical car from Tesla.
I like the way Tesla does it. Pencils down. Okay, pick them back up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's only pencils down. Then you get to go home and take a nap, and then you come back to work and pick your pencil back up. And
All right, guys, now how can we improve efficiency on this line that's not even built yet?
yes, and I'm sure they have what do they call them? Digital clones of the lines that they're.
They got them for the crash test, so it would make sense to have them elsewhere in the system. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So have a whole copy of it and test out how it goes through that line. What should you move this machine here, that machine there? How can you make it go faster? And we saw some of this at Investor Day when they were talking about how they're changing the way they do production.
I think some of those multi-$1,000 VR rigs for the engineers, and like just the consumer VR for the guys who are going to put the thing together.
That would be interesting, putting it together in virtual reality, but and physically at the same time.
Because you get your human factors testing before you actually have to commit any metal.
Yeah, you could.
I'm envisioning the Sigourney Weaver aliens front end loader.
and then when Joe comes by with his drone, they don't see anything. So a bunch of people with goggles on.
Yeah, exactly.
Until they're ready.
Virtual cars.
Now, if this date is correct, if the Chinese media date of Q1 2025 is correct, we know that Tom Zhu had said the plant could be built in record time in 9 months. Okay, let's say he's wrong. Let's say you give it a year to have the plant built. Then that means that shovel's going to have to start hitting the ground the first quarter of next year in order to meet that time frame.
If not sooner, yeah.
This is a guy who built 2 gigafactories in 9 months.
That's true.
A and B.
That's true. But I'm just erring on the side of caution. So
like a tsunami or an earthquake or something that you got to work around.
Something out of their control. If you get started and you can build it in 9 months, then you got that extra 3 months to actually, start talking about, as you guys were talking about, the layout, rolling things in place, moving things around, making changes all the way up to that first quarter in 2025. But that would be a plus, certainly. And of course, if they can get the shovels in the ground in, say, September or October of this year, even buys them a little bit more time. But I do understand that particular province in Mexico they're having some issues with the infrastructure that's available: roads, sewers, water. There are a number of things that aren't as they thought they would be for the construction site or around the construction site. So there is some questioning as to them getting the site up to spec for the utilities and such in order for the start of construction. So there may be some extra construction required, pre-construction, before the actual construction of the plant needs to happen, based on what they found the conditions were around the factory site.
Yeah, they would have to get the support ready, and then they could also go off grid. I'm sure they haven't designed for that. And then we saw how long it took them to actually put bolts into the concrete at the Cybertruck line. So I'm sure they appreciate the extra time to just really be sure about how they're going to put these things together.
Yeah, so I'd expect something to be at least announced, that we would have something in play by the fourth quarter this year when it comes to Giga Mexico.
Hopefully, do we want to do another one of our polls? will the groundbreaking be an actual groundbreaking, or will it be like the refinery where the machines have already broken the ground and then they have a shovel turning ceremony?
Yeah, I bet they won't wait for a ceremony. I bet you they'll just start the work and it'll just be a ceremony.
Right.
If they don't make it in time, then the machines will start running.
Because you've got Elon that probably is going to want to be there for another factory starting in another country, and his schedule is all over the board. So it would be like, just go ahead, guys, start moving that earth moving equipment to get the site ready. We're not gonna wait for ceremony to slow that down.
Wait the camera so they're not in frame this time.
Yeah.
We could do a poll on when do you think that the actual ribbon cutting, although it's a ceremonial one, but is it going to happen this year, next year? What date? And see who's closest.
Yeah, I will get that up on the Twitter feed tomorrow, so we can see what
there's a pair and
will say.
That, and then whether the 9 months it will be shorter or longer than Tom said.
Right. Yeah. Right. We could just do the ribbon cutting groundbreaking, and then the ribbon cutting it's open for business. Those 2 dates.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Next. Here, advertising. Remember Elon saying they would dabble a little bit in advertising? Well, we saw where the dabbling led us to, and that was some Google ads. That's where the dabbling has come. So actually, I've got a photo that I can share of some of the, there we go. Thank you, Casey. Where we've got some actual Google ads talking about the Model Y, about the highest safety score. What else we got? We talking about the actual retail list price. We've got solar up there. We've got what's the top one? Starting from that's a dollar amount as well.
From 395 pounds.
Yep.
Per month.
Yeah, so where the ones that mentioned the dollar amounts, they're all in pounds. So they were obviously pulled from the UK.
Right. So they had some in the US as well.
Okay. All right.
And then they also released some more of their nice, let's see, videos. Like one of them went into like how the Model Y was engineered, especially the aluminum, so that it didn't need a lot of rework after it was hard cast in the Giga presses. And so some folks were speculating that would be some of the ads. But it looks like those are just going to be on the loop in the service center instead, at least for now.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I haven't seen anything else besides Google. That's all I've heard about on the news feeds as to where Tesla's dabbling. But it'd be interesting to see if they stick with Google only, or if we see another advertising medium pop up at some point. But
while we're talking about pounds, remember they said that they were going to stop right-hand drive deliveries, right?
Yep.
Some folks were given the option to accept a left-hand drive delivery in the UK. And Tesla included what they call the reacher in the car.
What is the reacher?
Oh, yes. Let me get a picture of it. But it is a grab handle.
Some pinchers, the claw.
Yeah.
This does not sound safe.
You use it when you are like at a drive-through or at a parking gate. So this one, I got the picture here at Electrify.
Oh, okay, it's got nothing to do with grabbing the steering wheel. This is grabbing an object that's paying a toll or picking up the drive-through. Right.
Yeah, so you can get a nice light, parking ticket piece of paper, not anything mission critical or safety.
Oh my gosh!
So this is how it ships in the box, and that's what the box looks like when it's closed. I noticed you guys still get charging equipment. We're jealous over here. And then let me expand this a little bit. We'll share this tab instead. This is him using it, and the one concern for me is that blind turns must be a lot more hair raising unless you're using FSD, which is not available in their region just yet, because your mirrors and your driver are on the wrong side for the blind turns.
Wow. So the grabber is not going to be very good at maybe typing in a PIN code as you're trying to get into your gated community. I don't think that's going to work too well. But
you got to make sure you have a dongle.
Yeah, you've got to be a pretty dedicated person to want the S or the X and have the drive on the other side. That's going to be a special weighted person that gets that car.
Yeah, but if you're waiting in line for 3 years, you'd at least consider it. I don't know that I would actually do it, but I would consider it.
Yeah. Now that's
here. I would definitely do it because we got FSD, but over there, if the wheel turns too far, it kicks out.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Patrick? Would you ever go for that option?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
That's what the global headlight pattern is, right?
I may consider it, but I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, there's just so many things that'll be complicated. I don't think drive-ins are as popular in the UK as they are here in the US, so maybe that's less of an issue. But yeah, there's so many things, like you said, parking and other things where
I would definitely do it if the only other option was a fossil.
Right. Yes. Totally. I'm down with that. That you got me there for sure. But there are 3s and Ys available, so
that's right.
Those are non-fossil options.
Exactly, and we still haven't heard any explanation from Tesla as to why it was banned in those markets.
I was looking at some of the assembly videos, and I'm wondering if they didn't put a provision for the right-hand drive in the firewall, and rather than engineer it, they just said, take it like it is.
The S and the X are pretty low volume. I think they do
2,000 a week.
Yeah, I was going to say 20,000 a quarter. But yeah, something like that. So now if you're taking something that's already small volume and you're making this variation of it that's even a fraction of that. So now you've got a niche of a niche, and they're trying to go and scale up huge, right? So if they have all this effort going into this thing that's a second derivative niche, it's that time and effort could be better spent in making thousands of other EVs instead of a couple dozen right-hand drive.
I don't know. It still bites me the wrong way. Like I think that for the fanned people out there that are going to promote your vehicle anyways, I think it's well worth the investment to do it once and then have that in your back pocket for any of the countries you go into that require it. I just think it's kind of short-sighted for whatever reason.
Another reason for the semi-center driving position.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which will need the grabber for toll booths on both sides.
They still need the reacher, yes.
Well, speaking of some volume, here's something interesting. We were talking about the reduction of inventory stock for Model 3s as we expect Highland to be announced at some point. Well, it turns out that in North America, at least in Canada and the United States, the rebate that's been offered for the vehicle has continued into this quarter. So the quarter 3, it has continued. And we thought, based on the amount of vehicles sold, that it would only be a couple weeks of this before we thought that maybe the Highland would be released, because we had suspected that, of course, volumes are always low on the Model 3 anyways. They're selling pretty well through as they manufacture them. So but again, maybe for whatever reason, they're wanting to keep inventory values razor thin all the way through to the point where they're going to release the Highland, which we still don't know when it's going to be released. But
that's part of the plan, because if the inventory is just always low, you don't know when they're going to switch it. So that helps them not to Osborne themselves. All of a sudden, inventory starts picking up. Maybe
that's it. Because
or whatever just holds them up is ready. They just
because
push it out, all of a sudden.
If you're in the market for a 3, check the inventory values on the Tesla app or the website, and or talk to your advisor at Tesla showroom and see what they can pick up for you, because you can get a pretty nice discount on the Model 3. In Canada, it's $5,000 now off, which is a great chunk of change. In the US, I think it's $3,500. So again, nothing to sneeze at. Those are great amounts to have off your car.
Yeah. So do you think that they're going to do an event like the Plaid, or do you think they're going to do like the previous 3 and Y refreshes and just kind of roll them out? Not a sort of thing.
That is tough to say. I think for this, I think they're just going to roll it out. I just don't think there's a big enough splash for them to have. Although
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes apparently coming, you could definitely do some media about it, and of course,
Yeah.
the media would follow it. It's something that you should do most likely. If but then again, Tesla's never had any problem selling these cars, so it's not that you have to hype people up about it. There's probably a number of people that are sitting out of the market now, waiting for that particular
Ready to
car.
crush
So,
it.
yeah, exactly. So
Oh no, we can't keep up all of a sudden. But if it came out at the same time as Juniper, I think that would be the best way for them to avoid any lost sales or like people holding back or whatever. But like you said, like it doesn't matter because some people want stocks, some people just want the car or it's in the budget, so they don't really care what the next thing's going to bring. Especially with these discounts now, because you know those discounts are gone when the new one gets here, unless it's
definitely
cheaper to build.
Mm-hmm.
So not a surprise there. Next, Casey, you want to roll some of the pictures here about the camper, which of course Casey is familiar with towing.
Yes.
But this is a couple from San Diego who have recently retired, and they've decided to take their Tesla on the long road trip, traveling from San Diego all the way up to Newfoundland, Canada, which is like the complete opposite end of the continent that you can possibly get to from San Diego, is into the far east of Canada onto our biggest island, the island of Newfoundland. And they're pulling a little camper. It's not all that big. It looks like it's a single axle camper.
Yeah, single axle.
But again, they are surprised with the amount of questions they're getting when they're getting to these campgrounds, because no one's seeing electric vehicles at these campgrounds, right? This is, and of course, this is a perfect solution for someone with an electric car, because the typical scenario with someone that has a camper is when they get to one of these campgrounds, they're buying power to power the camper, right? You're plugging in to some sort of a shoreline, a pole that's in the campground, and you power your camper for the amount of time that you're there. And of course, if you've got an electric car, you just run that same power to the car. Get yourself a full charge before you leave, and you've got power for your next part of your journey as soon as you leave the campsite. So what a perfect solution, having an electric car at an electric campsite. It just makes perfect sense.
That's something you don't really see too often in North America, is a Model 3 towing anything.
Now, I've got an acquaintance here in KW area that actually was pulling his pontoon boat with his Model 3. And it was a much larger trailer than this particular one was. But of course, I don't think it was quite legal either. And I think he would admit that it was a little bit over the size. But again, the Teslas with their motors, they're more than easily can pull trailers.
When I'm towing, the only way that I know that the trailer's back there is if it's empty and we hit a bridge joint, like an expansion joist. And or
a little bit of a bounce from the expansion joint.
A little bit, but mostly it's just noise. And then and then you can feel it tapping the frame as it jiggles back and forth on the ball. And then, of course, if you happen to look at your fuel consumption, it depending on how fast you go and the weather, it's like, oh, what's going on here?
And Casey, you've towed a lot with your Model X,
thousands of miles.
You've been a number of places with it, and you're experiencing basically a 50% range drop whenever you're pulling that U-Haul trailer, right?
Up to. So that one in the picture with the Sweet Meats Disneyland, that trailer for some reason was more fuel consumption than the 6x12 dual axle with the hydraulic brakes. I don't know what was wrong with that one. I was pulling like 600 to 700 watt hours per mile, whereas on that same size, if I keep the speeds lower, it's usually around 500 watt hours per mile. And when I'm not towing anything, if I'm staying below 75 miles an hour, I'm at like 390 watt hours per mile to 330 watt hours per mile from 55 to 75 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, it certainly can be done, and of course, with the proliferation of trucks starting to hit the market, electric trucks. We're going to see a lot more of this electric camping is coming our way with these vehicles. And of course, we've even covered some stories about trailers now having some electric assist, where they will have their own little set of batteries that can help with that range issue of losing 50%. If the trailer is powering some of itself, then of course your car gets the normal range and you get to go further. But of course, there's a price tag for that, because now you've got a battery pack inside of a trailer. So and a motor. So it's there's no free lunch here. You're going to have to pay for it one way or the other. But it's
I'm
great
hoping
to
that some of
see.
these new supercharging NACS members have pushed Tesla to commit to putting in some more, not just nose in, but pull through spots as well. The nose in helps, but you get some of the newer folks who don't realize what it's for, or just lazy folks who don't care what it's for. Both. And so you'll arrive with your ski rack or bicycles or 12-foot trailer or more, and find that now you have to wait because you don't want to take up 8 supercharger stalls when there was one that was actually designed for you. I find I take anywhere between 4 to 6, depending on the layout of the site and if anybody has allowed me to have contiguous stalls.
Yeah, and hopefully that's coming. And of course, with the introduction of the Cybertruck, we know the stalls are going to have to be a little bit larger too. So the pull-through would be greatly appreciated in a number of scenarios.
The Cybertruck probably take an additional 2 spaces just because of its length.
Well, with that, let's wrap it up, gentlemen, and head her home. Patrick, any shout-outs for the evening? I'm sure you got a shout-out for the solar guys that just got you half up and running.
That's right, yes. SunPath is the name of the company. They've been great. So yeah, shout out to SunPath. And as always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I blog at carswithcords.net. I actually have one coming out about Tesla's 2 million year. So that'll be out soon. Thanks.
What does that 2 million year bring us?
Oh, that's right. Yes. This is all helping us phase out fossil fuels so we can have a future free from fossil fuels.
Baby.
Got it in. Very good. And Casey, what do you got shout outs for us this evening?
So Sunday afternoons at 1:10 Eastern, I like to talk about electrifying all the things. And you can catch me at youtube.com @KCGreen. So hope to see you there.
Very good. Very good. And of course, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. Help us out. Helps the channel. We really appreciate it. Press that subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Helps us. Thanks so much if you do so. So we would appreciate that. And we'll get together next week and talk about what's happening in the Tesla life.
Stay positive. Test negative.
Have a great week, everyone.